Here we are, Radio Row, Compas on the beat with the OG compa Omar Ruiz. I'm Gilberto Manzano. Omar, I'm feeling a little awkward because usually you're holding the microphone for NFL Network. I don't really do this, but how you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to see Compas here at Radio Row and Super Bowl 57, and you guys have a step and repeat. Look at you guys, all big time.
What is it called again? Because I have no idea.
I think it's called the step and repeat, where people step in, they take a picture, and then they repeat. So then it's called the step and repeat. I didn't know that until a couple of years ago. You see all these things at Super Bowl parties and whatever, and they say, where's your step and repeat? I'm like, what? Do you mean the backdrop?
I call it a backdrop for TikToks and Instagram reels, all that. That's the way I do it. But I'm not an expert, but you're the OG in the game, Omar. We appreciate everything you do for Compas on the beat. But Omar, what Super Bowl is it for you now? Because you're a veteran in the game.
Well, actually, I think this is my fifth because I started at the Eagles-Patriots Super Bowl 52, and then I've done everyone except the Tampa Super Bowl, which was COVID year. I actually covered the Chiefs in the lead up to that one, but since they stayed in Kansas City until the Saturday, the day before, then I just went home after that. So, kind of covered, the lead up, and I've covered lead ups to other ones, but this is, I think, the fifth that I've actually been at.
You were at the Philly special, Nick Foles, Eagles against the Patriots.
One, yeah.
So you're the good luck charm for Philadelphia. Have people told you about that, or your second Super Bowl for the Eagles now?
Actually, now that you mention it, I think back to all the times I've covered the Eagles. Now, I'm not saying that I haven't covered a Philly loss, but I can't remember a Philly loss at this point because I was at that Super Bowl. I was at Week 3 earlier this year. I was at the NFC Championship game. All Philly wins. Oh no, I did. Okay, the Seattle playoff game in Philly a few years ago where DK Metcalf went in, set a rookie receiving yardage record in a single game. They won. Carson Wentz gets hurt, and then that kind of spiraled out. So it was a loss there in Philly, but, who's counting?
Exactly, Omar. Nobody cares about a wild card game. We care about the big game, Super Bowl, last year in L.A., here in Phoenix now. Now think about it, Omar. Where are you from originally?
Originally, I was born in L.A., downtown L.A., Los Angeles, Queen of Angels Hospital. I don't think it exists anymore, but and then when I was 1, we moved to Oxnard, where my dad grew up, and then when I was 10, we moved to Sacramento. So, Puro Califas, went to college in San Diego, and then went to grad school in Syracuse. Lived in Ohio, kind of on the broadcasting journey, but like I said, proud to be a Californian.
And the big thing, Omar, you're Latino, you're here covering the Super Bowl for NFL Network, and you're the one in charge of all the Eagles content. You're the reporter there on the scenes, just being around the team for a little bit. I know it's still, Monday early in the week, but how are the Eagles feeling so far?
I would imagine they're very confident. I was at the NFC Championship game in Philly, and, they dominated, just like they dominated in the divisional round against the Giants. And, obviously you'll say that, Brock Purdy was hurt and Josh Johnson got the concussion, and, 49ers were playing with a short deck, but they still, brought the noise. And I think whether Brock Purdy was injured or not, that Philly pass rush is ferocious and record-setting even. And I think if they get 5 sacks against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs on Sunday, they'll surpass the legendary 85 Bears for most sacks ever in a season when you combine playoffs and the regular season. So they were going to be bringing it. And then you got to credit them. They dominated in a way that they should have. And so, they knew they could shorten the game with the 49ers having not much offense. They ran the football, 4 rushing touchdowns in that game, and put the pedal to the metal and let that offensive line dominate. So the Eagles in this playoff run, just like they did in the regular season, they proved they could beat you in multiple different ways. So they're very confident. They have, the core 4, the pillars, I've liked to call them, Jason Kelsey, Lane Johnson, Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox, key pieces from that Super Bowl team 5 years ago that, have laid the foundation for what that culture is in Philly. And then Jalen Hurts, with his MVP caliber play this season, has taken it to new heights. So when you factor all of that in, the youthful confidence, the veteran experience, not to mention guys like Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph, previous Super Bowl champs that are now in mid-season ads for them. It is a team that they're not boisterous. They're not going to be in your face about it. They know they still have business, but they are a very, very confident football team.
Omar, you dropped the knowledge there. A lot went in my head because I want to ask you so many questions. That nugget about the 85 Bears, I did not know about that. Appreciate you saying that. And the thing about it, too, you mentioned the core guys. It's hard in the NFL to get back to the Super Bowl. And also, how much it changes after 4 or 5 years. So you mentioning that reminds me how quick it changes. But the other thing too, Omar, Super Bowl week, it's like also kind of 2 weeks as a lead up. A lot of narratives out there. And for some reason for the Eagles, they're not getting credit, I feel like, because of the whole Brock Purdy injury. And then somebody was talking about Nick Sirianni not being a good coach. It's an easy roster for Nick Sirianni to just be out here that you and I could coach a team. Does this Eagles team kind of have like a chip on their shoulder, a little bit like that 2017 team? And what do you think about Sirianni's job this year so far?
Well, Sirianni's been awesome. And what you're right. When you look at the roster, for me, it's the most complete roster in the NFL. Howie Roseman in the front office, they've done a tremendous job. They have. But Sirianni's the glue that brings it all together. And the thing I look about with Nick Sirianni is how healthy they are. Going into the NFC Championship game, I believe they had all 22 starters that they started the year with, which is unheard of in today's NFL. So the fact that, he knew when to press, he knew when to pull back, and just kind of manage them throughout the year is a testament to how he leads, how he trusts his players to do their work without overworking them, how he galvanizes them to play for each other and to form that brotherhood and have that family feel is hard to do at the NFL level when multi-millionaires and guys being professionals and it's not easy to get guys to play for each other in that regard, and Sirianni has found a way to do it. And I think even more impressively, going back to last year when they were 2-5, how he kept them together, kept believing in him and his message for what he was saying, given he was a first-year head coach. They were struggling. He had those press conferences at first where, everyone's kind of making fun of him, and he was honest with the team, and he said that, that bothered him, and, he doesn't like, nobody likes to be made fun of like that. And I think at that moment, the players could relate to him, and he was very transparent about that. So I think he connects with all the guys. He knows the buttons to push. And I think Jason Kelsey said it best. All of those intangible type of things are much more superior for leading an NFL team to this kind of success than what kind of play he calls on third down. So I think that's a testament to the job he's done and the reason why they're here one game away from winning the Super Bowl.
Omar, the whole press conference thing about Sirianni kind of being nervous for the introduction, it's funny for me. I appreciate that because he was nervous. It's the first time on the job. You're talking to media. He got there late for the interview. I don't know if you remember that, Omar. I think he was like in regular clothes, no suit or anything. And he was just, a guy was going with the flow. And the one big thing for me, Omar, is like sometimes opportunity knocks. You never know what's going to come. He went to the interview. He was nervous with the press conference, and it didn't work out with the press conference. But that's the first impression, and that's it. After that, what can you do on the job and to earn it? To hear what you just said about the team, and him having kind of that thing where like, hey, this is not who I am. I'm gonna get these guys to rally behind me, and the team did that. So that was a big part for me to see that Sirianni development. But Omar, before I ask you the big question about the Super Bowl, because everyone wants to know who's gonna win this. Again, for us, it's cool to see what you're doing as a Latino. Do you have any advice for people coming up in the game right now to be a broadcaster or be a writer like myself or whoever, just to be in the media? Anything you want to share?
I would just say, the thing for me is how rewarding this is all with the relationships. Getting to know you and Fernando and Compas and all the people around Radio Row here. You kind of see, maybe you hear from, you go on radio shows throughout the year, but to see people and connect with people, I think that's, for me, makes this job truly rewarding because whether I worked in football or not, I'd be a fan, I'd be watching the games, cheering it on, but it's about the people. So I would say, all the other things that you're always going to hear about if you're a young journalist, or you got to work hard, you got to know your craft, you got to be dedicated, all that, but focus on people and relationships, and that'll always carry the day, to have sustained success in this business. And I think that's one thing I've learned and appreciated over the years.
Yeah, it's all about relationships and also being genuine about it. And you are definitely, you're a kind man, Omar. You're kind with your time, too. You're going around here. You're busy at Radio Row, so we got to get you going. But for this one, we got to look in the camera. We're going to be serious here. Super Bowl 57 in Phoenix, Eagles, Chiefs. Omar, who you got?
Man, I don't know if I'm allowed to say because of since I'm covering the game, but I'll say, well, I don't think I'd get out of Philly area if I didn't say Eagles. So I think it'll come down to, this is what I'll say. In Super Bowl 52, my prediction was Eagles, in that I felt that pass rush would make a difference in the fourth quarter on Tom Brady, and that's how it played out. Brandon Graham, that strip sack, and I forget what show I came on, but they played it back the following Monday, like, look at Omar predicted this, and I think it'll come down to a similar situation. If the Eagles can make that play in the fourth quarter, because Mahomes is special. No matter how much they'll come after him, he'll keep coming too. And it's going to be close there at the end. If they can make that play in the fourth quarter, that'll be the difference. If they don't, then I think Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, they're too special of a group. If you're not going to slow him down, they'll pull out the win. So it'll come down to that last play. Whether or not they get it, we'll see on Sunday.
Omar going 2 for 2 at the Super Bowl with the Eagles in the big game. Thank you, Omar.